What's going on, guys? I'm the Walrus Jedi, and in today's video I will be talking the Star Wars novel Kenobi by John Jackson Miller. And there is also a short story titled Incognito, also by John Jackson Miller in this book, so I'll cover both. And this book is in the Legends/EU timeline. There will be spoilers for the book, obviously. You have been warned. If you like what you see, please consider liking the video and subscribing for more Star Wars videos on books and shows and comics and that. Thanks. And now, back to the video. Alright, the back of the book. Alright, I will now read the back of the book. Tatooine, the harsh desert planet on the edge of civilized space, is an unlikely place to find a Jedi Master in hiding. Known to locals only as Ben, the bearded and robed off-worlder shares nothing of his past and goes to great pains to remain an outsider. But when violence erupts between some of Tatooine's farmers and a tribe of marauding Tusken Raiders, Ben finds himself drawn into the conflict. It's a move that may reveal him as Obi-Wan Kenobi, hero of the Clone Wars, enemy of the Empire, and endanger his true mission as protector of the galaxy's last hope. But with blood unjustly spilled, innocent lives threatened, and a ruthless opponent unmasked, Ben has no choice but to summon Jedi wisdom and the formidable power of the Force. Characters for this book, you have Obi-Wan Kenobi, or Ben, and he is, he's the new arrival on Tatooine, but, everyone knows who he is. Then you have Annalene Cowell. She is a storekeeper on Tatooine. Oren Galt, he is a moisture farmer and an entrepreneur. Ayark is a Tusken war leader. Callie Caldwell, she is Annalene's daughter. Jabe Cowell he's Annalene's son. You have Mullen Galt, he's Oren's son, and Vika Galt is Oren's daughter. Weil Ulbrich is a moisture farmer, and Lily Pace is a Zeltron artisan and friend of Annalene. This book begins in a cantina on Tatooine. Obi-Wan enters asking for directions to the Lars homestead. Some ruffians arrive at the cantina and Obi-Wan deals with them. Obi-Wan then tries to communicate with Qui-Gon later on. Then a Tusken raiding party attacks a homestead, but is stopped by some farmers led by Oren Galt. They return to Dinar's claim, and that's when Annalene, a shopkeeper, her daughter, Callie, while trying to ride a dewback, it goes berserk, and she is stuck in the stirrups and that, and then this leads to Obi-Wan saving her. He is invited to shop at Dinar's claim. He then attempts to communicate with Qui-Gon after that. Some Jawas arrive at Dinar's claim to trade with Annalene. Ben is there as well, having hitched a ride with the Jawas. He buys some things, and that's when Oren Galt's kids come in and harass Ben. A scuffle breaks out, and Ben quickly leaves, leaving behind the stuff he bought. He runs across Oren as Oren was helping fix a farmer's broken down vehicle. Oren asks Ben to donate to his Tusken Raider defense thing. Ben says he'll think about it. Ayark, Tusken war leader, is planning a raid on the Oasis. Annalene takes Ben his stuff, and she invites him to return to the Oasis when the race goes on, as the Oasis would be empty, so he shouldn't have to deal with people. Ben goes to Dinar's claim and has lunch with Annalene. People arrive from the race early, and that's when Tuskens attack. The settlers manage to fend off the Tuskens, but they decide to muster up and hunt them down. They do so, and it is a massacre. Ben continues to try to communicate with Qui-Gon. During one of these sessions, Callie, Annalene's daughter, overhears him say Kenobi, so they learn he is Ben Kenobi, and that spreads. Oren is visited by gangsters. He probably made a deal with them. Oren gifts Annalene and her 2 kids a trip into Mos Eisley to get a new speeder. This is to get her out of the store so he can get some info on the store and all that for the bank, so he can try and get a better loan because he's massively in debt to the bank and Jabba the Hutt. On the way to Mos Eisley, they run into Ben, who was on the way to Bestine, capital of Tatooine, to have a cooler fixed. They take him to a place in Mos Eisley to have that fixed. They see Oren as he meets with Jabba's thugs. Ben helps him escape. Oren mentions a plan and needing a 4th person while eyeing Jabe later that day. Annalene's kids go home, and Annalene takes Ben home, where his Eopie has given birth. Annalene gets some info of Ben's past, and then she goes home. Oren, his 2 kids, and Jabe, dressed as Tuskens, attack a farmer's land and try to get him to join Oren's Tusken thing. Ben stops them, and Oren runs, and he asks Annalene for help, and she refuses. He tells her Jabe is dead. Ben makes a deal with the Tuskens, who had taken Jabe alive. Ben tells Annalene about Oren and tells her to make ready to leave. Oren rustles up an army to kill Ben. The army finds Ben, but he tricks them. Jabba's thugs arrive and chaos ensues. Oren and his kids take Annalene as insurance to, so they won't shoot him. Classic bad guy stuff. He has an encounter with Ben. Ben kills a crate dragon that had arrived with all the commotion and noise from that, and he reveals himself as a Jedi to Oren. Oren leaves, but he has an accident and is paralyzed, and the Tuskens take him and they force him to fix a moisture evaporator that they had stolen, and as long as he keeps that running, they feed him. Ben tells Annalene that she is leaving to go to do what she dreamed of, to study faraway planets. Their parting is sad, both for the characters and for the reader. Ben talks to Qui-Gon, and that is where it ends. Now, the short story, Incognito. We follow former Senator Dual Bronk as he is on the run. He is one of the senators who signed the petition of 2000 systems. He meets Obi-Wan on a couple of occasions on his way to Tatooine. Obi-Wan helps him with some clone troopers who were about to arrest him. The senator then decides to go back to Coruscant and recant his support for the petition so he can be in a better position to help people against Palpatine and that. Now, what I thought of Kenobi. This book was potentially the best Star Wars book I have ever read. I say potentially because I haven't read every Star Wars book, but out of all the Star Wars ones, out of all the Star Wars books I have read, this is my favorite, hands down. It is interesting. This book is not all about Obi-Wan. We follow other characters who were all great, but the funny thing is, I'm not mad. It was a great read and does not in any way conflict with anything established in the movies, like the Obi-Wan show does, and this book could still be considered canon, even with the Kenobi show. Like, there's nothing that's counteracts any canon or anything like that, but I'm sure they just ignore Legends. So the Kenobi show really should have been an adaptation of this book. I don't understand why they haven't done anything like that, because I mean, if you've read this book, it's good stuff. Yeah, this is significantly better and more engaging, and not reliant on flashy lightsaber fights with Inquisitors or Darth Vader to be good and impactful and interesting. The Tusken storyline I thought was great, and it's not really too much of that poor Tuskens, they're people too type of, kind of what Mando did. I mean, you still get like them shown maybe so you can understand them a little better, but again, they're not like, they're a harsh people raised in a desert. Deserts make harsh people. The short story I thought was actually pretty good for a short story. Sometimes these short stories, they can be, well, kind of mediocre, but I thought this was a pretty good story, of Obi-Wan helping a senator on the run and all that. So I thought that was a fun little story. Overall, as I've said earlier in this video, this is the best Star Wars book I've read yet. This makes me want more John Jackson Miller Star Wars books. I mean, he hasn't written very many. He's only written this book, Knight Errant, and A New Dawn, and then he has a collection of short stories about the Sith. So I mean, that's all his books, I guess, or stories. And then he has several short stories, but he needs more novels. It's a shame he hasn't written more. So yeah, this book is obviously a 10 out of 10 for me. What did you think of this book? Should John Jackson Miller write more Star Wars novels? Would you like to see that? The answer is obviously yes, but you can tell me what you think in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, thanks for watching.